I've read more than 100 self-help books, but this one was the only one that I needed. It's called 10x is Easier Than 2x by Dan Sullivan and Benjamin Hardy. This book not only transformed my business, but it also changed my personal life completely in a matter of months. Here's the premise of the book. The book says you can achieve 10 times your goals easier than you can double what you're doing now. How is that possible that you can achieve 10 times as much easier than twice as much? But that is the genius of this book. Let's get into it. The author opens the book by talking about Michelangelo and the statue of David. And he explained that the reason the statue is as good as it is because all of the junk around it has been removed, only revealing the part that was important, the statue of David. And then he gives the example of the iPod. Steve Jobs removed all the aspects of owning music that people didn't like, and he improved the product through removal and focusing on the one thing that really mattered. That is the central idea of this book. It's not about more, it's about doing less. It's not about focusing on quantity, it's about focusing on quality. Let me tell you about why this made such a big impact in my life. When I was starting off as a public speaking coach, I was working with anyone and everyone who needed help with public speaking. Students, people early in their career, and the issue I was having was I was working non-stop all day, every day, back-to-back sessions, and I was barely paying the bills. I was doing the work, I was working hard, but I wasn't really making a lot of money. And even in the months where I worked 80 hours a week, maybe I would make 1.5 times or 2 times the amount I normally made, but I had no freedom and I was always tired. So clearly doing more work wasn't the answer. There has to be a different strategy. So in one of the chapters, he mentions someone who was starting off in a business and they only took on clients who had a certain amount of money to invest. They did not take on anyone under that threshold. And because they were working with very few people and they were not working with 90% people, they were able to make significantly more money and spend less time at the same time. So I wanted to tap into that. I did a survey of all my clients and I found the ones that were paying the most, the ones that I enjoyed working with the most, were founders, CEOs, and senior leaders of companies. So I made a strong decision. I said, okay, what would happen if I only work with people at this caliber? I completely changed who I work with, but I changed nothing about the service I provided. What happened? My income 10x'd. Now I wasn't making $25 an hour working with students, I was making $800 an hour working with executives. Come to think of it, that's a lot more than 10x. And that's simply because I decided to let go of the 90% that would not get me to my goal. And now that I have a good income, I did launch a membership at a much more affordable price for everyone else. But if my focus was on helping everyone all the time, I would never have succeeded in business. The other big takeaway I had from the book was the focus on quality. He quotes Mr. Beast in the book when he says, if you just post one YouTube video a year and you make sure it is the best video you can possibly make, that one video will get more views than 50 average videos that you can post. So I tried it. I've had a YouTube channel for 6 years that I've been trying to get views on, but the quality wasn't that great. So I started a brand new channel and I put everything I could into the quality of the idea, the thumbnails, and the video production itself. And the first video I put out with the learnings of this book implemented, it skyrocketed my channel. And now I'm so glad to have you here. We hear this a lot in life, just do more, just do more, just do more. But this book mentions don't do more, focus on quality. You can spend 10 hours learning the guitar, or you can spend 1 hour with a world-class coach, and the difference you'll get is going to be unbelievable. And I can tell you because I've done the same thing when it comes to business, when it comes to learning to dance, when it comes to public speaking. I still can't dance, but we're not talking about that today. Now, the other mind-blowing concept for me here was the idea of setting impossible goals. Benjamin says you should be setting goals that you think are not possible. Now, in my mind, I always set realistic goals because I wanted to hit the goals. But I realized very quickly, because I have never achieved that goal, I simply don't know what's realistic and what's not realistic. Because I haven't achieved it in the past, I will not set that as a goal, limiting myself right off the get-go. So he says, whatever your goal is, 10x that goal. And the question you ask yourself about how you're going to get there is going to change your behavior on a day-to-day basis. Here's what I mean. Let's say you're working a job and you make $50,000 and your goal is, I want to make $500,000 a year. Now, if you wanted to make $70,000 or $80,000 or even $100,000, you know you can just continue to be in that job, work for a bit longer, maybe hop to a different job or hop to a different role in the company, and in a few years you're going to get there. But that's going to be a 2x jump. If you want to go from $50,000 to $500,000, $100,000, what happens is most of the options in your mind get completely eliminated because they don't get you to that goal. You know, if you have a job that only pays $50,000 a year, you can't get to $500,000 in next year or the year after that. You have to fundamentally change what you do. Maybe you have to start a business. Maybe you have to partner up with someone who's very successful. Maybe you have to start saving and investing. Now you'll start to ask different questions about what path you want to pick, and you know for sure what path does not get you there. Now, in May of last year, I started my Instagram, and I said, okay, my goal is in a span of about a year, I want to get to 100,000 followers. But then I read the book, and the book said, hey, nope, you gotta 10x that goal. Now I'm thinking, how am I gonna get to 1,000,000 followers? That's a lot. And it's because I did not know how to get there. I did not have proof that I could do it, and therefore my mind wanted to set a smaller goal. But I set the million anyway, and in less than a year, in fact, after only 8 months of starting a brand new Instagram, I hit 1,000,000 followers. Now, can you imagine if I just set the goal for 100,000 and put in effort accordingly? This blew my mind because the goals that you set, the higher they are, the more likely you are to hit them because you stop doing the things that get you to lesser goals. One of my favorite quotes in the book, to go 10x, you simplify your focus by continually letting go of everything that doesn't meet your 10x filter. Each time you go 10x, the filter gets finer and finer and finer, letting less pass through. And I have implemented this exact same thing in my personal life. Some people that I hung out with, they didn't really contribute to where I wanted to go. In fact, they held me back, and I thought, do I really need their company? If they're not going to help me become the person I want to become, then it's that 90% that I need to get rid of. I know it's a hard choice, but I'm sure you can audit the people that you spend time with, and some of those aren't really helping you. The book also quotes Dr. David Hawkins and says, the unconscious will allow us to only have what we believe we deserve. If we have a small view of ourselves, then what we deserve is poverty, and our subconscious will see it that we have that actuality. In other words, what you believe is what you will attain. If you don't set high enough goals, you don't believe you can get there, you're not going to get there. And most of us, including myself, we set goals that are so small because we just don't know what's possible because we just haven't accomplished it. He also quotes Tim Ferriss when he says, 99% of people in the world are convinced they are incapable of achieving great things, so they aim for mediocre. This was so important for me because I realized that I had a blind spot that I couldn't see. I was falling for the tricks of my brain where every time I would set a high goal, oh, that's too high, go back down a little bit, there you go, and you feel comfortable because you think you can accomplish it. But if you think you can accomplish it, it's in your comfort zone. It's gotta be really big. So set impossible goals. Focus on quality, set really big goals, get rid of all of the things that are not contributing to your sole focus, your sole goal. Now let's get into some practical tips. One of the biggest challenges I had was that I had too many goals stretching me in too many directions. Then I said, okay, what is the most important thing for me this year? Remove 80% of those goals and just focus on one or even two of them. I knew growing my social media was a big one, and getting better at my craft, that is public speaking and communication, was a really big one as well. So those are the only two things I focused on. And guess what happened? Every other thing that came into my life, I said, no, don't have time, don't have time, don't have time. I had more time to post better quality videos. I had more time to do workshops and train my clients. I had more time to learn about stand-up comedy and improve my content along the way. And because I was focusing on 10x opportunities, all the small opportunities that will come here and there, I would just ignore because I knew they would not get me to the goal. If you know for a fact you want to make $1 million a year, most of the things in life you can completely remove because they won't get you there. And now what it does, it gives you clarity. Now you know what you need to do and what you don't need to do. And that simplicity and that clear path is exactly why it's easier to achieve 10x than it is to achieve 2x. This is one book that has completely changed my life. Check it out. And if you want more book recommendations, especially on how to become a more articulate speaker, go check this video out next.